All right. All right, this is my first time in a while live streaming without my headset. So I'm going to need you guys to be brutal with your feedback. Let me know if you can't hear me. Let me know if you can. Actually, let me change my angle because I set up my amiibos on my shelf and I really want you guys to be able to see them. There we go. All right, let's pin this. Can you all hear me without my headset? There we go. Now let's see if YouTube will actually let me pin it. Yes, there we go. Okay. If not, then gonna unfortunately have to reset the stream, but it looks like I'm seeing some dots on. Oops. There we go. Sorry, I accidentally muted myself for a minute there. All right, so I am very, very, very thankful for how these live streams have turned out these past couple of days. I feel like I'm getting back to getting some good regulars, and then it feels like I have a couple of people who watch but don't say anything. Because, like, there was one time I saw the like counter go up, even though it said that 0 people were watching, which I thought was hilarious. Makes me wonder if YouTube's analytics, if their studio is all just a joke. Like, I think I remember, I think I've told you guys this before, but since no one's here, I don't think anyone will care if I repeat the story. There was one time my analytics told me that I had a 0% female audience, even though I knew for a fact that that was false because my former editor is female and I knew that she was watching my videos. Actually, I think that was before I made her manager. Unless she just didn't disclose her gender, which I find hard to believe, just because she's even more of a traditionalist when it comes to gender roles than I am, which, to be fair, isn't saying much. Like, I'm the type of person that is all about being happy with whatever you have, but that doesn't necessarily equate to gender alone. So, for example, say that you have brown hair like mine. This is all natural, by the way. No curling, no straightening, no dyeing, no. I mean, I do take some supplements from the dermatologist, but as far as like surgical procedures, this is just my natural hair look. And so, even if we go outside of gender identity, a person's bodily expression should be close enough to the natural, but at the same time, like, also taking care of yourself. Because I remember I used to get really mad whenever people would like pluck their eyebrows or girls would shave their legs. And I've learned over time that you shouldn't be too strict on how people handle their appearance. But at the same time, like, I get agitated when people really cannot stand the natural look. And I don't really have an adequate defense for that. But let's just say that if you're ever trying to like attract me to, not necessarily in a romantic way, but like have an intellectual or an emotional attraction, the natural is always going to win me over every single time. If you're the type of person that naturally is covered in acne and has oily hair because you don't have access to a shower and you haven't shaved your legs in a month, I'm going to love that. Honestly, I had an ex-girlfriend that hadn't shaved her legs for like, I think it was 3 months. And I remember being so amazed by that. I was like, oh my gosh, that is the most glorious stuff I've ever seen. So then I took out my leg, and I don't remember if we took a picture or not. I think I wanted to, but I don't remember if I had a camera. And she was like, you were the first guy I have ever talked to who was okay with leg hair on a woman. And so that's why, going back to what started this discussion, was would my former editor have stated to YouTube that she was female and thus it would have shown up in my analytics? She's way more about traditional gender roles than I am. Like, I really do not care if the man or the woman is the breadwinner. I think someone's got to pay the bills, and whoever has the most skill should do it. And I'm not trying to rebel against Catholic teaching or anything like that. I'm just going by what the current catechism is teaching me and the current church recommendations. So if there's ever a time where the church recounts their stance on gender roles and it says, like, well, guess what? Now it's a mortal sin to shave your legs. I don't know. Say that hypothetically happens. Then I'd say, all right, guess I was wrong. Guess guess now we're gonna go back to how things were. I don't know. But for me personally, I care more about, I don't want to necessarily say character, because you could easily make the argument that there are some people out there that all they care about is character. They say, I don't care how the person looks, I just want a good person. But there are plenty of people that I know who look good, but their morals are questionable, or vice versa. But then I know people who look good and have great morals, but there's just something about them that would make me not want to chase after that person romantically in the long run. Hello, Matthew. Glad you could make it. Any big news? Anything that's going on with you lately? One thing I will say, because I know you're going to ask, is Gamefly confirmed, unfortunately, that their shipments of Yoshi and the Mysterious Book are coming in late. So assuming I'm doing the math correctly, I probably won't be able to even play it until July, because I am not spending $60 or $70 on a Yoshi game. I love Woolly World, but Crafted World disappointed me so much that Nintendo needs to restore my faith in Yoshi before I'm willing to take that plunge again. But I will be renting Super Mario Bros. Wonder Switch 2 Edition, and I'll be sure to set up a game chat with you and Tyler whenever it's convenient. But yeah, how are you, Matthew? Anything you want to report? I was just talking about preferences, not necessarily. Oh, excuse me for a moment. I'm getting a phone call. Hello? Hey, I had just wanted to know, like, what time you guys are coming back. Okay. Well, I'm not calling back earlier. She said that it would be close to 6. Okay, sounds good. All right, have a good one. Bye. Alrighty. Sorry about that, guys. You went to Super Nintendo World. That's great. Oh man, hey. What were some of the biggest improvements since the last time you went to Super Nintendo World? Because I heard that not only did they make a Donkey Kong expansion, but like apparently other parts of the park had been expanded on. I'd be really curious to hear that. Let's see. If I were to ever go to Super Nintendo World, it would be as an added bonus to a hangout I'm already having. I don't think I'd ever go just completely by myself. I think it would be easier just to go to something like Comic-Con. Because for me personally, like when I see people like you who have their pictures of Super Nintendo World and all those YouTubers who have done vlogs, that's good enough for me. Like I can pretend that I'm already there just by seeing the videos. But what I love about Comic-Con is I get to interact with the people in costumes. And sometimes I've had really good conversations with the cosplayers. There was this one girl, I don't know what she was dressed up as because, again, I'm not the most cultured person in the world, but I do know that she kind of reminded me of a Danganronpa character because she had the aho, whatever this thing is called, on your head. And she was by far the nicest person I talked to at the previous Comic-Con. It was so, like, getting a picture with her was effortless. The DK ride? Very nice. Now, was that the minecart ride that you're referring to? Because I heard that the minecart ride is like, it makes you feel like you're suspended in the air at one point. Like, that just sounds so fascinating to me. Like, this idea that a roller coaster doesn't necessarily get connected the whole time. Like, that is so cool. But speaking of Comic Con, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to go this year. It really all depends on what's going on in May. But I will say that there's also a Comic Con in my area at the same place where I went to last time that's in November. And if May fails, I'm considering making November the backup plan. DK banana ice cream. Oh, wow, that's so cool. Literally, because ice cream is cold. I'm pretty sure it's a foolish question to ask how it tastes, but was there anything besides just frozen bananas that it had on it? Like, did it have like Donkey Kong's tie made out of cherries or like anything like that? That is so cool. That might be worth it to go alone if I'm being honest. But yeah, I'm trying to think. Do I have any friends in the Super Nintendo World area? I know a couple of people who live in Texas, but I'm a wimp when it comes to heat. Wait, no, I don't think it's in Texas, is it? It's in Florida. Still, I'm a wimp when it comes to the heat. Like when I went to go visit Isabel in 2022 and 2024, the heat was so dry. Like normal, or not the heat, the wind was so dry that it made the already hot temperature 10 times worse. So not only was it hot, but it also wasn't humid, and the wind was blowing hot air on me, so it made it terrible. Butterbeer. Oh my god. Dang, you're getting all the works, Matthew. That is so cool. I've heard that butterbeer tastes like butterscotch. And I've also heard it's non-alcoholic. So I think that's my number one thing that I'd want to buy if I ever went to Harry Potter World is butterbeer. Because it just sounds like so delicious based on how Rowling describes it in the books. Speaking of the books, my sister and I are currently how do I say this without spoiling things? They're about to get to a very large gathering of people in the fourth book, in the audiobooks. And so far, we're just absolutely loving it. Goblet of Fire is the book where they started getting the older sounding actors. So we're getting used to our main trio sounding a little bit different. But I personally really like the older actors. I think they did a good job with the accent coach to make sure that their voices didn't sound jarring if they came from different places. Harry does sound quite a bit older than what I would expect from a 14-year-old, but he still sounds good. Posted some of your pictures on Facebook. Ooh, I gotta look at these. All right, let's see what you got. Whoops, almost typed in Nat, not Matt. I do have some friends named Natalia, so that's where the mistake came from. All right, let's see what we got here. Alrighty, here we go. Ooh. Oh, that's a nice shade of blue on the floor there. Very nice. Very nice. Oh, that Kong looks like it's straight out of Donkey Kong Country Returns. Hidden Kong letters, very nice. Very, very nice. I love the barrel designs. I think I saw that picture already. Yeah, okay, I think we're at the repeated ones. Very, very nice. Good job, Matthew. Very good job. I'm trying to think. I haven't, obviously, the pictures that I've taken of the stuff that I've been to is nowhere near as cool as some of your stuff. But I think the pictures that I'm the most proud of that I personally have taken are, probably NCYC. Like, it was really cool to get pictures with, like, all the celebrities there. Like, I think my favorite picture out of everything I've ever done was every time I went to visit Esabel, if I'm being honest. Like, the fact that she started out as just another commenter on my YouTube channel. And then we ended up becoming friends and ended up meeting in person 3 times, about to be fourth this coming April. Just absolutely blows my mind. Like, my second favorite picture that I've ever gotten was when I met Jennifer Morrison, who, for those of you that don't, excuse me, for those of you that don't know, she played Emma Swan in Once Upon a Time, which is my second favorite TV show. I think The Chosen is my favorite, but Once Upon a Time is a close second. And it really shocked me how very, very different she was from Emma. Like, I was thinking she'd be similar-ish, maybe like a friendlier version of Emma, but I was not expecting her to be that outgoing. I thought she would be pretty shy. I didn't expect her to be so airy. Like, she talked about a lot of abstract things. And if you know anything about Emma, she's the realist. Like, she's even more of a realist than I am, and that's saying something. But yeah, she's talked about like everyone has light and dark in them, which I was like, ooh, that sounds like something Snow White would say. That's a very, very interesting phrase coming from Emma, of all people. But yeah, I was so blessed. I got a chance to have a professional photo op with her that my friend Megan paid for. So she invited me to crash that. Then I got to see her at her panel. It was so great. Hey, speaking of which, Matthew, um, when you went to Super Nintendo World, did you get a chance to do any of the meet and greets, like with Mario and Luigi and Peach and Toad? And if so, did you get to hear Charles Martinet? Or Samantha Kelly, either one of them, but especially Charles Martinet, because he himself, when I met him at Comic Con in 2023, he flat out said that he recorded some lines specifically for, ooh, you met Yoshi. Very, very nice. Now, did Yoshi speak in full English, or was it just the usual stuff that we've been hearing since Yoshi's story? I think if I were to go to Super Nintendo World, I would want to meet Mario most out of all the meet and greets there. Mainly just because I want to hear more Charles Martinet. Um, I have a list on Facebook of every video game I've ever reviewed that had an actor that I've met in it. And by far, the actor that's been in the most video games that I've reviewed is Charles Martinet. In fact, let me pull up that document right now and count how many times Charles Martinet has appeared in games that I've reviewed. Here we go. All right. Let's see. You can keep talking while I'm looking at this. This is just my own thing that I'm curious about. So there's Mario Maker, that's one. Mario Kart 8, Smash for 3DS and Wii U. All the Smash games I reviewed. All the new Super Mario Brothers games. Super Mario 64 DS. Mario Sunshine. Thousand Year Door. Both versions. The Galaxy games. The Mario Tennis games. Or Open and Ace. Open and Aces, I should say. Mario 3D Land and Mario 3D World and Bowser's Fury. Wow, I got a lot here. Mario Party, the top 100. Every Mario Party I've reviewed except for Jamboree had Charles Martinet in it. 3D World, Odyssey. Wow, there's a lot here. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Mario plus Rabbids, both Mario plus Rabbids games, Luigi's Mansion, WarioWare Gold. I said Smash. All the Mario RPGs. Yep. Bowser's Inside Story. He was in that. Mario Maker 2. Paper Mario games. Namco Museum Arcade Pack. He voiced the narrator or the announcer in Pac-Man Versus. Bet you didn't expect that. Mario Kart. Yep. Mario and Sonic. I forgot about that one. Mario 3D All-Stars. Yeah, Bowser's Fury. There we go. Ooh, even Ultra Smash. I forgot about that. WarioWare Get It Together. So many Charles Martinet games on here. WarioWare Inc., the Mario Advance games, Luigi's Mansion 3. Wow. So on this list, I have 80 games that I have reviewed that have someone that I've met in person. And I'm pretty sure more than half of those are Charles Martinet. And I'm so grateful for my sister for treating me to that Comic Con for my birthday. That was my first Comic Con that I went to where I met Charles. And ever since then, I've wanted to go to every Comic Con since. So I really, really hope I'm able to go to the one either in May or in November. I kind of sound like Chris Chan. I do not know who that is, but I have been told I'm pretty good at voice impressions. I have had people ask if I really am Rupert Grint when I am imitating Ron Weasley. But welcome in, Patrick. Are you the same Patrick that I met a long time ago in my live streams, or do you just happen to have the same name? Because I remember going on a mission trip and I met a kid named Patrick, and then he became a regular on my YouTube channel. So if you're the same one, welcome back. If not, welcome in. And what have you been up to lately? And if you can't think of what you've been up to lately, because you'd be surprised how many people say nothing much, just same old, then what kind of video games do you like? And if you don't like video games, what kind of shows do you like? I'm asking a lot of questions, so let's slow it down. What have you been up to? What games do you like? What shows and books do you like? There you go. I boiled it down to 3. And I just scared off a couple of people according to the list of people that are watching this. But like I said earlier in the stream, pretty sure YouTube's analytics and their counters are a bunch of baloney. Because it'll say, like, I said this earlier in the stream, I repeat myself a lot. I'm the type of guy who constantly lives in the past. You just got to get used to that by now. One time it said I had 0% of a female audience, even though I knew my editor at the time, who is female, was watching. So you got to take analytics a little bit like, yeah, okay. The only thing that I feel is genuinely true about my analytics is that back when I first started live streaming, there were these 2 girls, and I don't want to say their names in case they want to be anonymous, but they were such big fans of my live streams that they started a petition to make me live stream more. Clearly it worked, because otherwise I wouldn't be doing this. But it definitely made my analytics really skewed. Like, to this day, when I look up my ratio of male to female on my live videos, because you're allowed to separate between the 2, it says 74% female in lifetime for live streams. So again, clearly they must have dominated the conversation. But for regular videos, it fluctuates. I think lifetime I've had 13% of a female audience, but I just checked my analytics today. I think it said I was at like 47% in the last 28 days. And I'm not saying this to sound sexist. I'm saying this because it's a common practice that no matter what gender you are, it's very hard to get a female audience when you primarily talk about games. Even among female content creators that talk about games, they tend to struggle with that as well. So it's nice to know that there's occasionally exceptions. Let's see what my analytics say right now. It says I'm losing subscribers. Very nice. I have always said that I didn't deserve any of my subscribers past 1,000, except for those of you that show up to my live streams. Last 28 days, 44.8% female, 55.3% male. Very nice. Alrighty, so I am really looking forward to April. I don't know if I told this to you guys yet, but April is the month when Isabel and her sister are going to come visit me, and I can actually walk to the inn where they're staying at, which is nice. Because where I live, it's like just now starting to get into spring weather. The man of the day. You must have had a pretty bad day if I would fit that category. Oh, what isn't going on is the question. All right, let me see if I can answer that. First off, Isabel and her sister are coming to visit me in April. Might have said that before, but just in case you weren't there you go. My friend Danielle is going to talk to me on the phone tomorrow, which I always love talking to her because she was one of the primary inspirations for getting me out of depression, which you might have seen in my best memories video. She and her husband, Matt, have just been absolutely wonderful. I've known them for so many years, and they just really encouraged me to be more encouraged. And then there's the Mario Galaxy movie, which my sister and I are going to together as a birthday present because my birthday is April 20th. My niece also has a birthday in April, so we're probably going to do a joint celebration. And then I'm probably missing a few things, but that's the gist of it. What about you, Kevin? How are you doing lately? As far as just today, the things that I did today, I had a really good nap. Yeah, really good nap, really good dreams. I went to church yesterday, so I was able to sleep in. Church was annoying as heck because the priest at my church he's not mean, he's just, the way he says mass makes it kind of feel like I'm at a circus rather than a solemn worship event. So it's very hard to take it seriously. But credit where credit is due. My church did just get a new music director, and she's been arranging the music so that it's more solemn since it's during Lent. So a lot of the chants are in Latin, and it's just way more tolerable. And then yesterday, they have this mother and daughter that are a really good singing duo. Normally, I have a lot of trouble handling female range because usually I find that it's just too high pitched for my ears to handle. But they are some of the few exceptions where I can be like, okay, not too bad. And then the mother is going to be assisting me with teaching the fourth and fifth graders this coming Sunday. So I think the kids really like her, and I really like her. I think she's a great teacher, and I'm really looking forward to us working together. Female Rain? What are we talking about, Jevil? I think I missed it. But welcome in. Glad you could be here. Any good news on your end? Oh, that's not, you've seen worse. You work at a school and a non-denominational rents the church, and it looks more like a concert than a church. They even oh my goodness. For the mass, they rented out the gym? I said Female Rain? Huh. I don't remember saying Female Rain. I think what I meant is that my live streams are 74% female in terms of lifetime views, whereas lifetime views for females in general is only 13%. So I was saying there was this huge, gigantic difference between the people that show up to my live stream and the people that show up to my regular videos because, again, before you were here, Jevil, it is very hard to attract a female audience if you're a gaming channel. They rent out 3 gyms, 1 for mass, 2 for basketball. Looked in the auditorium, looked like more of a hangout. That is very strange. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've had mass in a gym before. I've been on 8 mission trips. And of those 8 mission trips, let's see. First mission trip, we had mass in the main room of a retreat center. Second mission trip, it was in the auditorium, which was really a very pleasant type of experience because it was like going down towards a big stage. Third mission trip, that was, I think that was like a conference room of sorts. Fourth mission trip, that was in the basement of a school cafeteria. Fifth mission trip, that was in a gym. Fourth mission trip, that was in another auditorium, but an even cooler one than on my second one because they had even more chairs and there were 330 of us as opposed to just 300. Seventh mission trip, There was another gym, and then 8th mission trip was yet another gym. It was weird because they were playing basketball. Wait, what was the context of them playing basketball? Because I certainly would not think that you would play basketball during Mass. Have I bought the talking flower? Heck no! That thing sounds like an overpriced ripoff. I have amiibos, obviously, but none of the talking flower. Plus, I've heard Nintendo Power, or not Nintendo Power, Nintendo Life said that talking flower was super annoying. Like, actually basketball. So I like the talking flower in Super Mario Brothers Wonder, but I think in a certain way, I think he's kind of overstaying his welcome. Like, in my personal opinion, I think Wonder was fine for a one-off, but here's what I would like going forward if they bring back the talking flower. If they get different voices and different appearances for it, because all they've done so far is some talking flowers are like red and blue, but it's the same voice actor doing all of them. Like, why not get just a little bit of variety? Maybe have one that is voiced by a woman or one that's voiced by a child. Like get at least a little bit of variety. That way, maybe it wouldn't seem as annoying. It would seem like the Toads in the first Paper Mario. I never thought I'd be saying this about a Paper Mario game, but Paper Mario 1 and 2 actually had quite the variety of different Toad types. They had all different heights, all different hairstyles and colors and designs. Some had like mustaches. It was great to see so much variety. And then Super Paper Mario had one stinking Toad, and it was only in the first scene in the game, and then Paper Mario Sticker Star just completely ruined them. The talking flower is a waste of money. Yeah, 100% agree. Maybe if I was gifted it, I'd like try it out for the sake of like, I don't know, talking about it on the channel, but I certainly wouldn't spend my own money on it. And from what I heard from the Switch 2 edition of Super Mario Party Jamboree, that talking flower is very shoehorned in. Yo, it's Karin you. Welcome in. Thank you for calling me epic. I really appreciate it. I forgot to change my shirt for the occasion because I know Hey Girl was saying that she really likes my t-shirt collection. But just in case some of you weren't here yesterday, this is my Skyward Sword t-shirt. I have so many more where this came from. And I honestly think that that's like one of the main reasons why my channel hasn't completely lost all of its subscribers. Because some people are like, ooh, nice shirts. You overslept for church? Oh, that stinks. As far as I'm aware, there's no like one point where you can't still show up at Mass. Because like, sometimes things happen. But it is generally a good idea to stay for the entire Mass if you're going to receive communion, just because the entire point of the Mass is that it's building up to that moment. You wish Super Mario Wonder had more power-ups in the base game. You're going to get your wish with the Switch 2 edition, because I haven't watched the Direct, but YouTubers, secrecy is not their strong point. And it has unfortunately been revealed to me that there is a new power-up. I will not say what that power-up is, just in case you guys want to be surprised. Unless if I'm missing the context, but I saw a new costume. You would have went to another Mass at a different location, but they're kind of racist? Huh. It's interesting that you say that, because at my very first job, I worked at a college in an area that was predominantly not white. So there were a lot of black people, not a whole lot of Hispanics, but like there were a lot of Islamic people, a lot of dark-skinned people. So white was very much the minority. But as far as I'm aware, they never gave me any dirty looks. So that's a shame that you had to have that. I thought that those days were done and over with all the racist nonsense. But yeah, I was at one point at my job, I was the only white person that was working in as a dishwasher. And all my black coworkers, one was biracial, but he took on primarily black characteristics. They loved me so much that they wanted me to imitate Louis Armstrong. And at one point I said, I can't imitate Louis Armstrong. I'm a white man. They said, Paul, You may be a white man, but you do it way more justice than we do. So I felt really honored by that. Switch 2 editions are not really DLC. Eh, in my opinion, it's system specific DLC, just because if you already have the game, you can pay for the extra. You can technically get a standalone cartridges that has it already included, which is usually what I do, is I just rent it. I think the only Switch 2 edition that I actually paid for was, I think, Exit 8, maybe Sonic Racing Crossworlds. The priest there once said you had to go back to your original church to do your confirmation communion. Yeah, I don't know what he's talking about there. Yeah, I have no clue what that's all about. As far as I'm aware, as long as you're, I guess, like consistent with the church that you're doing OCIA in, I don't think there's too much restrictions. It's still not great in specific places. Yeah, racism will never go away. That is unfortunate. That's really sad. I know some people think that I'm racist because I'm the type of person that blurts whatever's on my mind. But what it really is, it's more so observations and not criticisms. But I think the reason why people think I'm racist is because most people don't understand the concept of thinking out loud. They automatically think if you're thinking something common, that must be an insult. But I will not say those examples, just in case there's someone watching who's like, oh my gosh, Paul, you can't dare say something like people have eyebrows. That's just such a terrible thing to say. Like, in case there are weirdos like that watching my channel, no thanks. I'm not going to fall for that. Fantasy Life S2. I haven't even played the first Fantasy Life. I've heard it was good, but it seems like it's not my kind of game. Like, I am terrible, absolutely terrible at any games that involve building things. So I've never played Minecraft, never played Pokemon Pokopia. Wouldn't play it anyway because I don't trust the Pokemon company. Except for the spin-offs, some of those are alright. Never played Dragon Quest Builders. Never made a level in Mario Maker. I always just play other people's levels. Short for Switch 2. Very nice. Yeah, maybe I'd like the fighting part of it, but I want the option to I want the option to be able to avoid all the farming and building. You don't have eyebrows? Actually, I have heard that that is a real thing. That some people do lose their eyebrows, and I completely forgot about that. I am so sorry. Yeah, yeah, there are people out there with that condition. I completely forgot about that. As for me, I I feel like my eyebrows are getting less fluffy as the years go by. I mean, my eyebrows were never huge. Like, I never had a unibrow. At least I don't think I do. Okay, I got a little bit of peach fuzz in the middle, but like no one ever notices it. But I think they used to be at least a little bit more prominent, and now they're getting a bit more wispy, which I've heard is just, the typical process. Oh, I know they shaved them off. I know a guy in my neighborhood who one time he just spontaneously just, oh, you're just joking. That's good. He just spontaneously decided he was going to shave off all his hair and all his eyebrows. And then he said hi to me, and I didn't recognize him because I just was not expecting him to do that. And then when he said who he was, I'm just like, okay, that was a choice. And now I can't tell if he lost his hair or if he shaved it off because, like, I looked at his profile and there's like some pictures where he's bald, but then some where he isn't. And it's like all over the place in terms of when the pictures were posted. Because I know he would often like have these phases where he'd like make himself bald on purpose at times and then grow out his hair again and then he'd get rid of it again. And yeah, he's a character, all right. I've had some very strange experiences with him, but credit where credit is due. He really, really liked Harry Potter, and so me and my brother, and eventually my other brother, once he got older, we would imitate Harry Potter with him in the backyard, and that's probably where I got my talent for acting and voice acting from. is just having that experience in the backyard, just pretending to be all the characters and improving like crazy. One of my favorite improvised moments when we were doing Harry Potter is that my neighbor, he made up his own character to be in the story because he didn't know the lines that he was supposed to say. So he did that so that he'd feel like he could, take part in it. And so there was one time he was mad at Victor Crumb. I forgot the context. And he just started like speaking rapid, random characters, which he claimed was Bulgarian. And so I was playing Crumb in that scene. So I said, "Did you mean to say that the frog bites harder at midnight?" And he just completely lost it after that. And I think that's my favorite moment that we've ever done. Smash Brothers 6. Oh, goodness, Jevil. You're getting your hopes up. Then again, there was that time that I thought that we wouldn't get any news about Deltarune or Hollow Knight, and we got both in one direct. So I'm more willing to think you could be correct, but at the same time, Masahiro Sakurai just made Kirby Air Riders. So I don't think he'd have enough time to make a Smash Brothers 6, unless someone else is doing it, which Sakurai strikes me as the kind of guy that's pretty protective of his properties. Like, when he made Melee, he thought that that was going to be the last Smash Brothers game. And so then there was an announcement at E3 that Super Smash Bros. Brawl was going to come to the Wii, and Sakurai didn't even know it. So then he talked to Satoru Iwata, the president at the time, and he said, "What the heck? I wasn't informed of this." And he said, "Yeah, if you don't make another Smash Brothers for the Wii, we're just going to port Melee and give it online functionality and call it a day." And Sakurai was just like, "Oh, you're asking for it now." So then he basically like just jumped into the development role. And then Smash for 3DS and Wii U was announced before he was ready for anything. So then that kind of threw him off. Then for Ultimate, yeah, for every game since Melee, he always went into it as though it would be the last one, and then something happened to bring him out of it. But as I keep saying every time we have this discussion, the most recent Smash Brothers game is called Ultimate, which is another word for the best or the last one, the perfect finale. So what do you call it? Ultimate Ultimate Plus? Then again, in Japan, it was called Super Smash Brothers Special. So then the title would be, well, what do you call it in Japanese? More special? Yeah, it just seems like you'd have the Super Mario Galaxy 2 situation on you, where you'd have to wonder, like, okay, it started out as an expansion and then they put it into their own game, but it still feels like it was just an expansion. Yes, Bandai Namco did work on everything from 3DS and onward. And that's why Ultimate was able to get done as quickly as it was, because they just reused a lot of assets from the 3DS and Wii U games. Smash Brothers Infinite. That would be if the fans made another Smash Brothers game, because they could just keep modding in new characters. Smash Brothers Legacy, we technically already got that, because with Ultimate, nearly every stage in Smash history, except for 16 of them, came back. And every character came back. Nearly every music track came back. It's hard making a continuous series of games for a company like Nintendo. If they sell well, they're going to make you, they're going to want you to make more. Yeah, like, when do you call it quits? That's why Sakurai stopped working on Kirby games for so many years, is they kept wanting more sequels. To this day, I'm pretty sure Sakurai has actually only worked on maybe 5 or 6 Kirby games. I know he worked on Kirby's Dream Land because, he created Kirby. Then there was Kirby's Adventure, then Kirby Superstar, Kirby Air Ride, and then Kirby Air Rider. So yeah, I think that's only 5 Kirby games where Sakurai himself got personally involved. And there's this rumor that he has a lot of bias towards those classic games in Smash Brothers, which personally I haven't done the research to confirm or deny it, but I did watch a video that wanted to prove whether he had a bias or not. And I didn't like the way the video was structured, because the person claimed oh, well, if we're going to count songs from Kirby games, we're only going to count remixes. And there were no remixes of games that he didn't work on besides the boss medley. And I said, no, I am going to use the argument that the fact that they crammed that much stuff into Ultimate means that even if it's a remix or original content, just be thankful that it's all there. Can we just acknowledge that the 3DS is a hidden gem? Oh, I have a hidden gem for you. This is a hidden gem. In fact, I love this game so much. I even have the receipt that shows when I purchased it. It was at GameStop, and I paid $32. Oh my goodness, that was stupid cheap. Wow. $32. Oh, here we go. 8/29/2014. Wow. You've never heard of Professor Layton versus Phoenix Wright? Like, this is like the game of all time. Might be, in my opinion, the coolest crossover to have ever existed, even cooler than Smash Brothers. So Ace Attorney is a series where you control a lawyer. He's the one in the blue suit, and he points out contradictions in witnesses' testimony. He'll like present evidence from the court record. It's very satirical, so it's almost nothing like actual courtrooms. And then Professor Layton is known for solving puzzles and like uncovering conspiracies on a grander. Oh, they're not Pokemon. They're like different series. Like Professor Layton has his series of games, and then Phoenix Wright has his series. And so for this crossover, they came together. And the reason it's called Versus is because they took opposite stances on an issue plaguing the world. And again, if you're a fan of both series, you'd seriously have to wonder who will come out on top. Because these guys are both geniuses, but who's going to be more of a genius? We will see me in the next main direct. Yeah, maybe if there's a me game, but I don't know how many people keep track of what my me looks like. That being said, I would love it if I could be in the next direct because, again, as I've been hinting at for you guys for months now, I have been in, like, lots of developers have contacted me, and one has said he'll send me a review copy of his game. So maybe he can hire me to do the voiceover for it. You gotta go, gotta drive. Well, you have a great rest of your day, Kevin. The economy and inflation was different. Yeah, definitely. Red from Angry Birds is coming across. I did hear about that. That is interesting. The Simpsons. Oh, that's so funny. Thank you. You take care too, Kevin. But yes, this is my, well, I think Zero Escape I'd want on the Switch more. But besides Zero Escape, this game is my number one wish list for like put it on the Switch. Probably the Switch 2, I would say. It's not a technically demanding game, but like the entire game can be played with the touch screen. So I figured that would be a great usage of mouse mode. They'd have to rework some of the puzzles because a lot of them relied on there being two screens to give as much information as possible. Like you'd have the instructions for the puzzle on one screen, and then the entire touch screen would be just you solving the puzzle, for example. But there were also some unnecessary ones, like one where you had like just an image of Professor Layton and Luke looking at a map, and the bottom screen was you arranging the map. Like we probably didn't need that map image. Did I check out Outrun? Yes, I did, and I got motion sickness from it. So I ended up giving up. But it was nice to have that like old school Genesis music in it. I liked all the options. They had this really neat opening cutscene. But I think, unfortunately, I feel like ever since I played the Virtual Boy, it has made me more susceptible to motion sickness. That's okay, Karinu. I was the one who was an idiot and decided to just jump into the arcade racing train. I probably should have done more research before I jumped in. But I still thank you for recommending that to me because it does seem like it seems reasonably priced. It was like $8, which for a game that old sounds pretty cool. Yeah, lovely, Jevil. Very lovely. I am of the unpopular opinion that Toad's song in the original Mario movie, the one from 1993, was better than Peach's. Fight me on that, guys. Um, but with regards to the Galaxy movie, I know pretty much nothing, except for stuff that YouTubers have spoiled. That is why I am hoping that, well, actually, I don't think there is a way to get around that. Because, like, Nintendo Music has an option to avoid spoilers, but I don't know if that's a thing for YouTube. Like, if there's a way to program non spoilers, you probably have to use this stupid AI stuff. AI drives me crazy because, like, even if you want to just open an email, the AI will summarize it. And part of the fun for me whenever I get an email from someone is that I like the surprise of being able to, read the email and go through the process of being like, this is the start and it leads to this conclusion. Um, I recently got in touch with one of my viewers on email, and we're already talking about a video call. So who knows? Maybe that'll eventually lead to a meetup too. We will see. Like I said before, I've met two of my viewers, and all started out with just comment section, so you never know. The movie, oh, I've never seen the live action one. I don't really want to because I heard there was a lot of adult stuff in it. But I'll give them this much. I think the 2023 Mario movie was inspired by the live action one more than Nintendo cares to admit. Because the live action one did take place in Brooklyn. There was a scene in the sewers that transported them to the Mushroom Kingdom. They did have the Mario Brothers Plumbing Company. I'm pretty sure the van was like practically ripped straight from the movie. There was a scene where the Mario Brothers drove the car. The whole thing about them turning into dinosaurs definitely was not a thing. Uh, yeah, Mario having a Brooklyn accent, that was also in the original Mario movie. Them getting a call for plumbing that they took, another ism. Yeah, Nintendo really did take a lot from that original movie. Well, just as a heads up, guys, I'm going to have to end the stream in about 8 minutes. Not ending it right now, but I'm going to be ending it in about 8 minutes. Whew, my chest is kind of getting sore. Hope this room isn't getting covered in dust because that's usually what does it. So get out your pressing questions right now while the water still lasts, is what I'm trying to say. But I told this to Matthew when he first showed up, and he seems to have disappeared. So I'm going to tell you guys. Unfortunately, I'm going to be late in reviewing Yoshi and the Mysterious Book because GameFly, one of the support staff, flat out said to me that if they ever get the release date for a game wrong, it means they're getting in their shipment late. So even though Yoshi and the Mysterious Book comes out on May 21st, they're not getting a shipment until I think it was June 30th. So at best, you can expect the review by July. 2023 was inspired by the game Brooklyn. So, the Brooklyn backstory actually preceded even the game. Because if you look at not only interviews with Shigeru Miyamoto, but also I believe it's the manual for Mario Brothers, it stated that Mario was always intended to be an Italian immigrant that lived in Brooklyn. And he and the Mario Brothers were cleaning out the sewers of Brooklyn, and then that led them into the Mushroom Kingdom. This is way before even the old Mario movie. So I think the reason why people think that Mario's just flat out Italian as opposed to an Italian immigrant is because when Charles Martinet crashed the recording or the audition for being Mario, even though the director did flat out say to him, "You're playing an Italian plumber from Brooklyn." Charles decided to improvise the Italian accent because he had just played as someone who was Italian in the most recent project that he had done. And I guess like the Nintendo higher ups didn't really care because he didn't even audition for the games. Welcome back, Kevin. You were just hearing me describe how the fact that Mario was in Brooklyn instead of the Mushroom Kingdom was not an original idea from either Mario movie. It actually predated both of them as early as Mario Brothers, the arcade game. And that's, yeah, like I said, Charles Martinet chose to do an Italian accent, but he wasn't auditioning for the games. He was auditioning for a trade show where they would put these things on his face and it would make Mario's face appear and he would talk to people at the convention center in real time. And then Nintendo liked that so much that they started hiring him to be the voice of Mario in their games. But even before that, there were a couple of projects done by non-Japanese people that hired Charles Martinet. So a couple of examples were Mario Teaches Typing, the Mario Pinball game, and Mario's Game Gallery. But Super Mario 64 was the first Nintendo published game where he had that voice. And again, it was the voice that he improvised, not the voice that Nintendo said was the original idea. So how was the drive, Kevin? Any troubles, or was it all smooth driving, not smooth sailing, whatever the word is? Also, before you got here, I told my audience that I'd have to end in by now it's about 3 minutes. So just in case, get out your big questions and your big statements. All good? Very nice. Very good. Glad to hear that. Oh, I almost completely forgot about this. I do have some good news that I forgot to tell you guys. I finished. Oh, yeah, absolutely, Kevin. I will finish what I was about to say later because this seems more important. Yeah, whatever your question is, go for it. The live action Mario movie was even worked on by Nintendo. Yes, very true. Very true. And they've regretted it ever since. Are by Nintendo. Even if it didn't, there's just way too many cool. What I think happened is that the action movie was inspired by Mario's backstory in Mario Brothers. So technically, you could say that Mario Brothers was the inspiration for everything. If you're wondering why I'm pausing, just waiting for Kevin to type. Here we go. Catholic, the woman you're talking to, very pretty, evangelical. Is this bad? So the thing about marriages is that one of the requirements is that both parties have to be in different denominations. The kids have to be raised in the Catholic faith. So I do know a friend of mine who is Catholic, and her husband is, I think, Presbyterian. And during the wedding ceremony, they had a Protestant minister and a Catholic priest or a deacon, because it can be either one at a marriage, standing up. And I think that was one of the things in their wedding vows is he had to say, I agree that the kids are going to be raised in the Catholic faith. So she takes all of her kids to Catholic church with her, and I guess he just goes to his own church. It's definitely not a desirable situation, but it's not impossible. Just you have to have a really accommodating significant other if you're the Catholic. Now, if you get married in the evangelical church, that I think would be problematic because then it wouldn't be sacramental. It would be, how do I word this? You'd basically just be announcing that you want to have sex together. Whereas if it's a sacrament, you're getting grace and you're also like committing to the family life. Oh, my apologies. I misread it. You asked if she can go to her church and her visit mine. So it is true that anyone, and I mean anyone, is allowed at a Catholic mass. Even if you're an atheist and the worst of sinners, you're allowed to be at a Catholic mass. You just can't receive Holy Communion. That's like the biggest no-no. So if she ever were to come visit your church, she would have to go like this during Holy Communion. Hello, Jungle Runnin'. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to end in a few minutes, which I did say 8 minutes ago. So I'm going to have to wrap it up here. But before I do, I don't want to be rude. So, yeah, I'm sorry. I've been streaming for an hour, and I was told by my family ahead of time that they're going to be home around 6, and it's 6:01. But you can always watch the replay. So was there anything you wanted to ask before I wrap it up? Yeah, I am so sorry, Jungle Runnin', but just bear in mind that if I do live stream, it's typically going to start at 5. Don't ever change. Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate it. Thank you for saying hi, Jungle Runnin'. Let's see what Javel said, and then I actually will wrap it up. Nintendo was involved in 1993 movie, but was not heavily involved in the creative direction. Yeah. Yeah, Nintendo's stronghold on what Mario could and couldn't do was very loose in the 90s. And that was after Mario Strikers Charged that they finally said, yeah, we need to be more wary of what we allow and don't allow. But anyway, let's thank everyone for coming. Thank you, Jungle Runnin'. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Jevel. Matthew was here earlier, so thank you, Matthew. Thank you, Karen, you. And one other person was here. I think it was Patrick Foley. Let me just double check that. Yes, here we go. All right. So you all have a great rest of your day. Don't know when I'll stream next, but it'll probably be around 5 p.m. EST. So mark that down. There's a post that announces it too if you guys want to screenshot that. And you all take care. And until the next time, remember to keep the faith, stay epic, and God bless. Bye.